Hello friends, welcome to the course of fluid mechanics. In the last lecture we have seen the definition of fluid mechanics, the term fluid we have seen, its definition from a general perspective and from engineering perspective. Then we have seen the various applications of fluid mechanics to mechanical engineering, civil engineering, and apart from that we have also seen the applications of fluid mechanics, the concept of fluid mechanics to day-to-day life. Now here we will be starting with the topic, the properties of fluid at the beginning, right? Now, the properties that we are going to see in fluid mechanics, most of the properties that you have already seen, you have studied, perhaps you applied at many places, but still we will be revising all these properties with their units in CGS system, in SI system, and their dimensions. Now, the first property is the density. The term density represented by the letter rho. Now, this term density is defined as it is the ratio of mass of the fluid. The term density is defined as the ratio of mass of the fluid to its total volume. So, it can be abbreviated as mass of the fluid is represented by small m, the volume as capital V. Now, it is clear from the formula you can get the SI unit for that. Rho is equals to m by V. So, mass is expressed in terms of kilogram and the volume is expressed in terms of meter cube. So, I can say that the SI unit used for the measurement of density is, the SI unit is its kilogram per meter cube. Whereas in CGS, the CGS unit, for CGS unit you can write down, see the mass if you have measured in terms of CGS it will be in terms of gram and volume will be in terms of centimeter cube. So the CGS unit for the volume, density will be equals to gram per centimeter cube. So these are what two units. The term density will have the dimensions. You can get the dimensions of density by following this formula, that is mass per unit volume. I would like to get it. See, the term rho is equals to, it is mass per unit volume, rho, so V, this is equals to, now you can predict about the dimensions of mass. Mass is simply, it's m, so if you express that numerator in terms of the fundamental physical quantities, so there is only one fundamental physical quantity, that is mass, and that's to the power 1, divided by the volume. Volume will have the dimensions L3, so it will have the dimensions as equals to, it is m1 L minus 3 and t to the power 0. So these are what the dimensions for the term density. Density is a generalized term and it is applicable for even for the solids, but from the fluid perspective we will be talking about the densities of the various fluids. For example, if I want to know the density of water, how much is the density of water, you must be aware of, that is 1000 kg per meter cube. The same term, if I want to express the same, the density of the water, which is 1000 kg per meter cube. Oh, okay, let me tell you that this density of water is the density of pure water at standard atmospheric pressure, and that too at 4 degrees Celsius temperature. So and its value at that particular state is 1000 kg per meter cube. Whereas in CGS system, if you want to get the density of water, it is 1 gram per centimeter cube. Another example of one more fluid, say the density, now this is the density of water, rho W. If I want to express the density of Hg, that is the mercury, so the density of mercury is, it is 13,600 kg per meter cube. If you write down the same density in terms of CGS unit, it will be 13.6 gram per centimeter cube. Like that, we can use this term at various places in fluid mechanics. The next property is The term density is also named as the mass density. The next property, fluid property is number 2 is the wet density. Wet density. This term wet density is also, named as the specific weight. Specific weight, and that is expressed as or represented by the letter small w, and is defined as the specific weight of the fluid is nothing but it is the weight of the fluid per unit volume of the fluid. It is the weight of the fluid per unit volume of the fluid, so it can be represented as the weight of the fluid I can write down it as W. W is the capital W. Remember that this is the capital W, that is the total weight of the fluid, whereas small w is the wet density or it is the specific weight of the fluid. Capital W is the total weight of the fluid and volume is represented by capital V. Now, if you want to get the SI unit for that, small w, it is capital W divided by V, that too capital V, the volume. Now, the weight is basically a force and will be expressed in terms of Newton. So, the SI unit used for the measurement of weight is Newton divided by the volume is meter cube. Volume is expressed in terms of meter cube, and that is the reason the SI unit for the measurement of specific weight is SI unit is Newton per meter cube, whereas the CGS unit will be weight, which is the force, and the force in case of CGS is measured in terms of dyne and volume is measured in terms of centimeter cube. So, the CGS unit will be dyne per centimeter cube. So, these are what 2 units. One more relation that I would like to tell you about the specific weight. I would like to rewrite this formula for the specific weight as small w as equals to capital W, that is the total weight, divided by capital V, that is total volume. Now we know that the weight of the matter is expressed as it is mg, where m is the mass of the fluid and g is the acceleration due to gravity, which is equals to 9.81 meter per second square as far as we are on the earth. So the formula for the specific weight will be mg divided by v. Now out of that, in the previous topic we have seen one of the property of the fluid, that is density, as equals to is the mass per unit volume. So if you look at this entity, mass per unit volume, which is nothing but what, the density, and if you look at this term over here, that is this mass divided by this volume. So this mass by volume over here into the formula of the specific weight, we can replace it by the term density, and hence the small w will be equals to, this is mg divided by capital V, and as we know m by v can be represented as rho. So this is equals to rho into g. So this is one more formula for the specific weight, that is small w is equals to rho g. This was the first formula we got. Now let us see the dimensions of the specific weight. The specific weight will have the dimensions, and that also we can get from the formula, following this formula, that is W divided by V, capital W divided by capital V, where capital W is the total weight of the fluid and capital V is the total volume of the fluid. The weight is nothing but what? The force, and the force has the dimensions m1, L1 and T to the power minus 1 divided by the volume has the dimensions L3, right? So finally, I'll be having specific weight as the dimensions as equals to m to the power 1 will remain as it is. When L to the power 3 goes into the numerator, it will become L to the power minus 3, and perhaps I would like to write it again over here, one more step I would like to add. M1 L1 T minus, sorry, this is minus 2 The dimensions of force as m1 L1 T minus 2. Here again m1 L1 T minus 2, and the dimensions of volume when taken into the numerator will be L minus 3. So now the specific weight will have the dimensions. M to the power 1 will remain as it is, since there is only one term of m. L to the power 1 into L to the power minus 3 will give rise to L to the power minus 2 T to the power minus 2 as it is. So this is what the dimensions of the specific weight. Now let's go ahead for the next fluid property. Number 3, specific gravity. Or this is also known as the relative density. This is also known as the relative density. The term relative density of the specific gravity is represented by the letter S and is defined as, the specific gravity S is defined as, it is the density of the fluid, it is the density of fluid divided by the density of standard fluid. This is what the basic definition of specific gravity. It is the density of fluid, it is the ratio of the density of fluid to the density of the standard fluid. Now one thing is clear, that we have seen this term density of the fluid. Now this can be written as density of the fluid, let's say rho F divided by rho F. Consider rho F is the density of that particular fluid F. Density of standard fluid. Now the question is, what is this density of standard fluid? Let us say it is density of standard fluid is represented by rho St. So the question is, what is the standard fluid? Now in fluid mechanics, while we are dealing with fluid mechanics, fluid means there are two, fluid is categorized in two types of categories. One is the liquid, second is the gases. Now while we are measuring the specific gravity of a fluid, and if the fluid is liquid, then for liquids we do take down water as the standard liquid, and for the gases, if we are dealing with the gases, we are studying gases and we are measuring the specific gravity of the gases, then for the gases the standard fluid is taken as the air. So let me highlight that point over here, that is the standard fluid. The standard fluid for liquids, in case of liquids, if it is liquid then it is water, and of course that I have mentioned, water at pure water at 4 degrees Celsius and at standard atmospheric pressure. And for gases it is the air at STP, standard temperature and pressure. From this I can write down the formula for specific gravity as S as equal to S for the gas. The specific gravity of the gas can be written as, it is the density of the gas divided by the density of air. Whereas if you want to measure the specific gravity of some liquid, then this can be written as the density of that liquid divided by the density of water. So there are two separate formulas for specific gravity of gas and specific gravity of liquid. If it is the specific, we need to have the specific gravity of gas, then this is the ratio of the density of that particular gas to the density of the standard gas, that is air. And if you want to know the specific gravity or the relative density of liquid, then it is the ratio of the density of the liquid to the density of the standard liquid, that is water. Now, one thing I would like to highlight over here is this specific gravity S is the ratio of two densities. Here it is a density, here it is again a standard density, density of the standard fluid. Now, this S is basically the ratio of two physical quantities and both are the same. First numerator, in the numerator it is the density, into the denominator that is also density. So, if you try to get the SI unit or say any of the unit for the specific gravity, the density is expressed in terms of kg per meter cube and this density is also expressed in terms of kg per meter cube. So finally, what unit you will get is both the units are being the same and we will get no unit for the specific gravity. And that is the reason the term specific gravity is unitless and hence it is also dimensionless. The specific gravity has no dimension and specific gravity has no unit. If you see, you might have seen somewhere onto the petrol pump that somewhere on the display screen of the petrol pump, there might have been written some display about the liter, how much liter of petrol or diesel they are delivering, what is the rate, and somewhere onto another display you might have seen either the density of the petrol or diesel, whatever the fuel is, or the specific gravity, right? Whenever you go for the petrol pump, you observe this thing. You will get somewhere over there the value of the specific gravity of the fuel or the density of the fuel. Now the next fluid property is specific volume. Specific volume. Specific volume is represented by the letter small v. Now, the term specific volume is defined as it is the ratio of volume of the fluid per unit mass of the fluid. Can be written as simply the volume means the total volume capital V divided by small m, which is the mass of the fluid. And obviously it can be expressed as, now volume is measured in terms of meter cube and the mass is measured in terms of kilogram. So I can write down the SI unit used for the measurement of specific volume is, the SI unit will be, it is meter cube per kg. It is meter cube per kg. What about the CGS unit? The CGS unit will be, the volume in CGS is measured in terms of centimeter cube and mass is measured in terms of gram. So the CGS unit will be centimeter cube per gram. That's what the CGS unit is. Let us check out the dimensions of the specific volume. Okay, before we go to the dimension of specific volume, let us have one more form of this equation. V is equal to small v, the specific volume small v is equal to capital V by m. So this small v is equals to the total volume divided by the mass. Now I'd like to reshuffle these two terms in such a way that both the terms will be there into the denominator. So it will be 1 divided by mass of the fluid, and when this volume is taken into the denominator, it will be divided by m, so I mean m divided by v. Now specific volume v is equals to 1 divided by mass per unit volume. Now if you remember the term mass per unit volume, we have just seen the term mass per unit volume. We have defined the term rho as equals to mass per unit volume. So I think this is the mass per unit volume. So if I replace this mass per unit volume by this term rho, I can write down this equation is equal to 1 by rho. So from this equation it is clear that this term small v is equals to 1 by rho. So the specific volume of the fluid is the reciprocal of the density of the fluid. And in the similar manner, I can also write down rho as equals to 1 by small v. That is, the density of the fluid is the reciprocal of the specific volume of the fluid. About the dimensions, let's have that one. It is the volume of the fluid per unit mass. So the volume has the dimensions m0, L3, T0, whereas the mass has the dimensions m1. So I can write down the dimensions of the specific volume as m to the power minus 1. Since when this m to the power 1 goes into the numerator, it will be m to the power minus 1. L to the power 3 will remain as it is, and t to the power 0. These are what the dimensions of specific volume. So let us go for the next property, next fluid property. The next fluid property is the velocity gradient. The next fluid property is the velocity gradient. This term velocity gradient is defined as it is a change in velocity per unit change in distance of the fluid particle from the fixed layer. Now it will be a little difficult to understand that, and for that I would like to explain one of the phenomena, one of the behavior of the fluid while it is flowing, and that too on some solid surface. Take down one case, take down some oil or say any thick fluid, liquid I am talking about, typically oil, thick oil, and if you pour that oil onto a flat surface or the inclined surface, you will find that that oil is flowing smoothly over that inclined surface. How it is flowing? Say this is the flat surface, which is a solid surface, and that too not a smooth surface, it is a rough surface. And if you pour some oil over here, you will observe that that oil is flowing in this way. The layer of oil is flowing in this way. Now if you observe this fluid flow pattern, if I take down any one of the section over here, and if I try to locate every fluid particle across this section, and if I observe the velocity of this fluid particle, then what I am going to get is the velocity of the fluid particle in contact with the solid surface over here. The velocity of this fluid particle which is in contact with the solid surface, that is always zero, always and always zero. Whether it is liquid or gas doesn't matter, the velocity of the fluid particle which is in contact with the solid surface, that is always zero. Next, if I go in upward direction, vertically upward direction, or say in the direction perpendicular to the perpendicular to this flat surface, you will find the velocity of the fluid particle is increasing in vertically upward direction. If I go here, the fluid particle will have somewhat velocity, maybe say 1 meter per second. If I go a little up, maybe 1.2 meter per second, something like that, and continuously the velocity is increasing. If I represent the velocities of all these fluid particles across this section, and that too in the form of some vector representing the direction and the magnitude of this fluid, the velocities of this fluid particle, then I will be having a beautiful pattern over here. What is that pattern? I will show you. Let us say the velocity of this fluid particle, next to the solid surface, is somewhat, say velocity of this fluid particle is say over here, say up to this much length. If I go a little upward, the velocity of this fluid particle over here is somewhere over here. I mean, I already told you that we are representing the velocities of these fluid particles in the form of velocity vectors representing the direction of that vector. Obviously, the direction means what? In that direction, the fluid particles are flowing. And the length of the vector is giving you the magnitude of that vector. So, obviously, now this vector is more in length than that of this vector. So, the velocity of this particle is more than that of velocity of this particle. And in similar manner, if I go up and up, the velocity of the fluid particle, you will find it is increasing. Velocity of this fluid particle is again little more. Velocity of this fluid particle over here, it is again little more. So, if I draw the velocity vectors everywhere, I will be getting this pattern. Now, out of which, if I join all the terminal points of these velocity vectors, say this is the terminal point, this is the terminal point, this is the terminal point. If I join all the terminal points of all these velocity vectors in this fluid flow, I will be getting a curve, and that curve will be something like this. This is the curve. We will be getting a curve like this. And this curve over here, we say it as the velocity profile of the fluid flow. This is the velocity profile of the fluid flow. The general notation used for the velocity of the fluid over here is u, and the distance of that fluid layer from the solid boundary, we represent it by the letter y. Right? So, this is about general behavior of fluid flow. How does the velocity of the fluid flow changes with respect to the solid surface, that I have explained over here. Now come to the point, come to the property of the fluid, that is velocity gradient. Now, what is this velocity gradient? I would like to redraw this figure little larger, and by eliminating some of the unnecessary things. So, this is the solid surface, that to a rough surface, not a smooth one. So, it will have somewhat friction. The fluid flow is over here. This is what the layer of the fluid that is flowing in that direction. This is the section. So, this is any one of the random section we have taken. The velocity profile, this is the velocity profile, let us say. And say this is the y direction. This is the y direction over here. So, this is the x direction. So, out of which, if I take down any arbitrary point, say point number 1 over here, this is point number 1, which is at a distance of y, which is at the distance of y from the solid surface. And if I check out how much is the velocity of this fluid particle at this height y from the solid surface, I have named that layer as 1. And if I represent the velocity of this fluid particle in the form of a velocity vector, so that vector will be obviously here up to the length, up to the curve, this particular curve. That is, what curve is this? It is the velocity profile. It is the velocity profile. Next, now if I go a little up, that is in upward direction, or say in the direction perpendicular to the surface, this flat surface, by a small distance, say like dy over here, say another, and at there is a point number 2 over here, which is at a height of, dy over here. This is the height dy above the layer 1. So, the total distance of this point 2, or say the layer 2 from the fixed layer, will be equals to, I would like to write on this as little aligned, y plus dy. This will be the distance of the second fluid layer from the fixed surface, right? And if I check out the velocity of this fluid particle 2, obviously the velocity of this fluid particle will be more than that of the velocity of the particle 1, or say the layer 1. Since we have seen that if you go in the upward direction away from the solid surface, the velocity of the fluid particle will goes on increasing up to the boundary layer. We are going to see what is this boundary layer afterwards. Now, if I represent the velocity of the fluid particle 2 by a velocity vector, I'll be getting a vector like this. Obviously, it will be up to the velocity profile, the curvature of the velocity profile. Now, it is clear that this velocity vector has higher magnitude than that of this one. By how much amount? If I take down the velocity of this fluid particle, first fluid particle is u, then there will be little increment in the velocity of second fluid particle than that of u, and that increment you can see over here. This is the increment, and this increment in the velocity of the fluid over here, I would like to say it as du. And hence I can say that the velocity of this fluid particle, particle 2 or the layer 2, will be equals to, it is u plus du. It is u plus du. Now let us define the term velocity gradient. Now I think you understood the behavior of the fluid flow. How does the fluid flow takes place over a flat surface? The velocity of the fluid particle in contact with the solid surface over here will be always 0, and if you go in perpendicular direction to that of the flat surface, the velocity of the fluid particle goes on increasing as you increase the y coordinate of the fluid particle. At any arbitrary point at a distance of y from the fixed surface, we have taken a particle or say the fluid layer which has the velocity u. If I increase that y dimension by a small amount, say dy, at that height, which is height y plus dy from the fixed layer, and that layer has the velocity u plus du. Now let us define the term velocity gradient. The term velocity gradient, let us abbreviate it as Vg, the velocity gradient. The term velocity gradient, Vg, is defined as, it is the change in velocity of the fluid per unit change in the distance of the fluid from the fixed layer. I would like to write it in words. It is change in velocity of fluid particle per unit change in distance from fixed surface. So let me elaborate this. So velocity gradient is equals to, it is a change in velocity of the fluid particle while you are going in y direction. So if I take on the first, this one as the first particle and second particle is represented by 2. So the change in velocity will be, obviously it is v2 minus v1, the velocity of the second particle minus velocity of the first particle. So I would like to write down velocity gradient as equals to the change in velocity of the fluid particles. So that will be v2 minus v1. It means that it is the velocity of the second particle minus velocity of the first particle divided by the change in the distance of these fluid particles from the fixed surface. So velocity over here is v2, velocity over here is v1, and the distance of this particle from the fixed surface will be y plus dy, whereas the distance of this particle from the fixed layer will be simply y. So generalized term, I would like to write down it as y2 minus y1. y2 is what? The y coordinate of the particle 2, and y1 is the y coordinate of particle 1. This I can write down as, we know v2, the velocity of the second particle over here. The velocity of the second particle is, it is u plus du minus the velocity of the first particle, v1 representing the velocity of the first particle, and that is equals to u. So minus u whole divided by the change in distance of these fluid particles from the fixed layer. It means y2 minus y1. How much is the y coordinate of second particle? Y coordinate of second particle is, it is y plus dy. So it will be y plus dy is the y coordinate of the second particle minus y1 means the y coordinate of the first particle, that is simply y. So if you look at that equation, this plus u minus u will be get cancelled, and plus y minus y will be get cancelled. What will remain into the equation is, it is simply the term du by dy. If I rewrite it, velocity gradient is equals to, it is du by dy. Now once again I would like to define the term velocity gradient as, it is the change in velocity of the fluid particle per unit change in distance of that fluid particle from the fixed layer, and that's what du by dy. So this is the formula for the velocity gradient. Now let's check out the SI unit used for the measurement of velocity gradient. What is that? So du, remember du is representing the velocity of the fluid particle, so it will be measured in terms of meter per second, and dy is basically the distance of the fluid particle from the fixed layer, so it is measured in terms of meter. So what I will get is the unit mm will be get cancelled, so the SI unit will be per second. So I would like to write down it over here. SI unit will be per second, or that is also equals to second inverse, is the SI unit used for the measurement of the velocity gradient. Now, not simply the SI unit, it is same in case of CGS also. Since it is time is the only entity over there, so time measured in SI unit, the time is measured in terms of second. In CGS also it is in second. So SI unit is also second inverse, and CGS unit is also second inverse. What about the dimensions? I think you will be able to predict about the dimensions of the velocity gradient. The dimensions will be, it is only one entity, that is time, and that too into the denominator. So the dimensions of velocity gradient will be t minus 1. That's it. So this is all about the velocity gradient. The next fluid property is viscosity. Viscosity of the fluid represented by mu. Now, first of all, I would like to define the word viscosity of the fluid, and that too with the example, so that it will be easier for you to understand the term. If I take down some fluid, like some liquid like water, and if I pour that water onto a flat and inclined surface, right, with a fixed inclination, you will find the water will start to flow smoothly and will flow down in the direction of reducing slope. Now instead of water, if I take down another liquid like oil, the engine oil, and if I pour the engine oil onto the same slope, you will find that that engine oil is flowing, that is also flowing smoothly, but you will observe that the engine oil is flowing little slower than that of the water. Now, why does it happen? Like, slope in both the cases is being the same. The altitude from where we have poured it, that is also same. So why does the oil flow slower than that of the water, or water flows faster than that of the oil? The reason is, there is a property of the fluid which is there in the fluid itself, which offers the resistance for the flow of fluid. While the fluid is flowing in any direction, it gets somewhat opposition for the flow. It gets some restriction for the flow. And that restriction is laid by the fluid itself, not an external agency. So that opposition for the flow of fluid is nothing but the term viscosity. Now another example of viscosity is, if I have given you the example of water and the oil, the engine oil. So engine oil get more opposition for the flow, and that's the reason it flows slowly than that of water. I can roughly say the engine oil has more viscosity than that of water. Now take down another example. Instead of water, if I take down another fluid like petrol or a diesel, even the kerosene. If I pour the kerosene or say the petrol onto the same platform with the same inclination, then you will find petrol is flowing faster than that of water. So it means that the petrol or say even the diesel has lower viscosity than that of water, right? So these are what the basic, I mean, rough definitions of definition and the examples of the viscosity. But mathematically, what is the term viscosity and how it is expressed? What are the dimensions and the units for the measurement of viscosities? And how much are the viscosities of some of the typical liquids or the typical fluids that we will see? Now, to explain that, again I need to draw the velocity profile. Say the fluid is flowing over here, this is the layer of the fluid, and that is flowing in that direction. If I take down any one of the section over here, this is the fixed surface. As I mentioned, it's a solid surface, and that to a rough surface. At certain distance y, at a certain distance y from fixed surface, there is a particle named as number 1, first particle, and the first particle has the velocity. Let me draw the velocity profile over here. The velocity profile may be something like this. You have seen what is the velocity profile, and the velocity of this fluid particle is represented by the vector and has the magnitude u, and the direction is along the positive x-axis. This is what the positive x-axis is. If I go by a small increment in the distance y, the small increment is, say, it is dy, and here is the particle number 2, where this distance, increase in the distance is dy. So the total distance of that particle, total distance of the second particle from the fixed layer is y plus dy. It's over here. And the velocity of this fluid particle 2 is represented by a vector. Obviously, it will be up to the velocity profile, and will have the magnitude u plus a small increment in the velocity than that of u, that will be du. So, I repeat once again, this is a rough surface, rough horizontal surface over which somewhat fluid is flowing. The velocity profile for the fluid flow is over here. This is the velocity profile. Next, at somewhat distance y from the fixed surface, there is a fluid particle whose velocity is represented in the form of a velocity vector whose magnitude is equal to u. With a small increment in the distance y, we are having one more fluid particle named as 2, which is at a distance of y plus dy from the fixed surface and has the velocity u plus du. Before we proceed to the viscosity, we need to define one more term. We need to go through a law, that is the Newton's law of viscosity. Now let us see what is this Newton's law of viscosity. Newton's law of viscosity. Now the Newton's law of viscosity says that, okay, before we go to the Newton's law of viscosity, I would like to explain one more fluid phenomena, and that exists while the fluid is flowing. Now what is that fluid phenomena? I will show you. Say this is a flat surface and there is somewhat fluid flowing over here onto the flat surface. Take down any fluid, even it is applicable for the gases. But why always I am taking down the example of flow of liquids? Since flow of liquids, if I explain that fluid phenomena with the aid of example of liquid, it will be easier for you to understand it, since you can easily resemble it to the real life examples. Now this is the fluid flow. Now fluid is flowing over a flat surface means a number of layers are flowing and sliding smoothly over one another. Smoothly over one another. Now the interesting thing is, if I number this as fluid layer number 1, layer number 2, layer number 3, layer number 4, 5, something like this, we have already seen the velocity of the fluid particle in contact with the solid surface. This is the solid surface. The velocity of the fluid particle in contact with the solid surface is always 0. We say it as a no slip condition, right? What is that no slip condition? We will see it afterwards. If I go in vertically upward direction, not upward direction, but in the direction perpendicular to this surface, you will find the velocity of the fluid layer is increasing continuously. Now take down one of the layer into observation, say layer number 3, this layer number 3. So into this layer, now the fluid layer, what do you mean by fluid layer? Fluid layer means what? A set of molecules which is sliding smoothly over one another. So the molecules of this fluid layer 3 are arranged over here, say something like this, maybe. So these are what the molecules. Now what happens is, while the fluid is flowing ahead, see, this has somewhat velocity, say u, and this fluid layer will have velocity u plus du, obviously little more than that of the fluid layer, velocity of the fluid layer below it. It means ये जो नीचे वाला fluid layer है उसका velocity अगर u है तो इसके ऊपर वाले velocity का ऊपर वाले layer का velocity u plus du रहेगा. Obviously it has to be more than that of this lower fluid layer, since this fluid layer is in closer to the solid surface. Now, as these two velocities of these two layers are different, it means there exists somewhat relative velocity in between two layers. Now, the way in which there exists a frictional force acting between two sliding surfaces, if there exists a relative motion between two surfaces, for example, if I put down one object over here and one surface is sliding smoothly, sliding over the surface of another one, so they are in contact, and due to the cohesive force, the lower surface or say one surface will exert a force in the reverse direction to that of the motion. In the similar manner, while this fluid layer is flowing ahead in the forward direction, the molecules of layer number 2 which are in contact with the molecules of layer number 3, and there exists an intermolecular force of attraction between these molecules. So what's going to happen is, while this fluid layer is going in forward direction, obviously the velocity of this fluid layer is more than that of this. It means that there will exist a relative motion between these two layers, and as there is a relative motion, these fluid particles which are having lower velocity or say smaller velocity will exert a force onto the top molecule or say the top layer in the reverse direction, in the direction opposite to the motion of that top fluid layer. So the molecules of this fluid layer will exert a force onto the top fluid layer in the reverse direction, whereas the molecules of fluid layer number 3 will exert a force onto the lower fluid layer in the forward direction, in this direction. In the similar manner, if you check out the layer number 3 and 4, the molecules of layer number 4 will exert a tangential force in the forward direction, whereas the molecules of layer number 3 will exert a tangential force in the reverse direction. And in such a way, wherever the fluid is flowing, there exists a tangential force acting in between every two layers. Perhaps there will be infinite number of layers which will be sliding smoothly over one another, and in between every two layers there will be existence of a tangential force onto these two layers. The upper layer will exert a tangential force in the forward direction onto the lower layer, whereas the lower layer is exerting a tangential force onto the upper layer in the reverse direction, and that force exists throughout the fluid flow, right? Now I told you about the tangential force, and I think you have already seen in the properties of matter the term shear stress. The term shear stress is indicated by the letter tau, and that is equals to, it is the tangential force, it is the tangential force per unit area expressed in terms of Newton per meter square, or expressed in terms of Pascal, since the unit of stress is same as that of the unit of pressure. So that's what the shear stress is. So when the fluid is flowing, various layers of the fluids slide smoothly over one another, and while they are sliding due to the cohesive force, every layer exerts force, a tangential force onto its adjacent layer, or upper layer or so the lower layer. If the fluid is flowing in the positive x-axis direction, then a layer will exert a tangential force in the reverse direction onto the layer above it, and the same layer will exert a force in the reverse direction, sorry, in the forward direction onto the layer below it. So that's what the phenomena is, and that tangential force acting per unit area of that layer is known to be the shear stress. That the term shear stress we have already seen. Now come to the Newton's law of viscosity. Let us see what is this Newton's law of viscosity. Now the Newton's law of viscosity states that for any fluid flow, not any, for a streamlined or say the laminar fluid flow, streamline means what? Streamline means that fluid flow which is flowing smoothly, there is no turbulence in it, right? We will see afterwards what is this streamline fluid flow, what is turbulent fluid flow, laminar fluid flow, various types of fluid flow. We will see afterwards, maybe in the next lecture. But for the time being, you simply understand that streamline fluid flow means a fluid flow which is smooth, not zigzag or say abrupt fluid flow, right? So for a streamline or say the laminar fluid flow, the shear stress acting onto the various fluid layers is found to be directly proportional to the velocity gradient, that is du by dy. Hope you remember what is this term du by dy. Du by dy means what? It is the velocity gradient of the fluid flow. Now Newton says that the shear stress acting onto the fluid layer is directly proportional to the velocity gradient of the fluid flow. This is applicable only for the streamline flow or say the laminar flow. So if I remove this proportionality sign, I need to bring a constant over here. So this equation can be written as this tau is equals to, the proportionality sign is replaced, so I need to bring a constant over here, and that constant is the term mu into the term du by dy, where tau is the shear stress, du by dy is the velocity gradient, and mu is the term viscosity, or it is also named as, the term mu is also known as dynamic viscosity. Dynamic viscosity, right? And from this equation, we can write down the equation for the dynamic viscosity as mu is equals to, it is tau divided by, mu is equals to tau divided by du by dy, tau divided by du by dy. So from it, from this equation, we can predict about the SI unit used for the measurement of shear, the dynamic viscosity. This term dynamic viscosity is also known as the coefficient of viscosity, or simply named as viscosity. So the SI unit will be, the shear stress is measured in terms of Newton per meter square, and du by dy, that is the velocity gradient, and the SI unit used for the measurement of velocity gradient is, we have already seen, it is second inverse. So it will be equals to Newton second per meter square, or that is also equals to Newton per meter square, we know that is equals to Pascal. It is Pascal second. So the SI unit used for the measurement of dynamic viscosity is Newton second per meter square, or it is Pascal second, right? Let us check out the CGS unit. How will you express this viscosity, the dynamic viscosity into CGS? In CGS unit, Let me write down, this is the SI unit. This is SI unit of dynamic viscosity, that is Newton second per meter square or Pascal second. Now in CGS unit, the term tau, let me rewrite it, mu is equals to tau divided by du by dy. So the unit for tau, that is the shear stress in CGS will be, it will be dyne per centimeter square, and du by dy has the unit second inverse, so it is equals to, it is dyne second per centimeter square. So that is what the CGS unit, and the CGS unit for the dynamic viscosity, as I have written over there, that is dyne second per centimeter square, and that is named as the Poise, right? So I can say that 1 dyne second per centimeter square is equals to 1 Poise. Poise is basically the name given to the CGS unit of dynamic viscosity in honor to the scientist Leonard de Poiseuille. Poiseuille was a very famous researcher, a scientist, and engineer, a French engineer, who has given a lot of contribution to the subject fluid mechanics. And in honor to that scientist, uh, the name to the unit of dynamic viscosity is given as Poise. So I repeat, the SI unit is Pascal second, whereas the CGS unit is dyne second per centimeter square, and 1 dyne second per centimeter square is nothing but what? 1 Poise. Now let us check out what is the relation between the SI unit and the CGS unit of dynamic viscosity. So let us take down, let us say mu is equals to 1 Pascal second, or say 1 Newton second per meter square. Let us express this quantity, that is mu is equal to 1 Newton second per meter square, in terms of CGS. So how much it will be? I think this will be equals to, I can write on this as 1 Newton second per meter square as equals to 1 Newton into 1 second divided by 1 meter square. There is no meaning in this term and this term. Just for to simplify it, I expanded it. So this is equals to, now we know 1 Newton is equal to how much dyne? It is 10 to the power 5 dyne in CGS into 1 second in CGS, it will be also 1 second divided by 1 meter square in CGS. How will you write down it? 10 to the power 4 centimeter square. So how much we are getting is 10 to the power 5 divided by 10 to the power 4, that will be 10, and 10 what? 10 dyne second per centimeter square. So I can write down 1 Newton second per meter square is equals to 1 Pascal second, that is being the same. This is equals to, in CGS, how much it is? That is 10 dyne second per centimeter square, and that is also equals to 10 Poise. So that's what the relation. Basically, the Poise, this unit 1 Pascal second is quite larger. So practically we do not use such a unit. Even Poise is also a larger unit. So practically what unit we do use for the measurement of dynamic viscosity is, that is centipoise. So 1 centipoise is equal to 10 to the power minus 2 poise. Right? So I can write down, once again I would like to write on this line as 1 Pascal second is equals to 10 Poise, right? And that is equals to, if I convert Poise into centipoise, so 1 Poise will be equal to 10 to the power 2 Poise. So 10 to the power 2 into 10 will be 1000. So that will be 10 to the power 3 centipoise. So centipoise is the unit, the practical unit used for the measurement of dynamic viscosity. So let us go for the next topic, or so the next fluid property. This we were talking about the dynamic viscosity. Now, there is one more type of viscosity, not a type, but expressed in another way. That is, oh, I forgot the number. What we have seen: the density, the specific weight, specific volume, specific gravity, velocity gradient, dynamic viscosity. I think 6. So it must be the 7th one. Kinematic viscosity. Kinematic viscosity represented by the letter nu over here. We have seen the term dynamic viscosity. Now let us see kinematic viscosity. Kinematic viscosity is defined as, it is the ratio of, it is represented by the letter nu. So kinematic viscosity is the ratio of the dynamic viscosity of the fluid to the density of the fluid. Density of that fluid. So it can be written as nu is equals to, the dynamic viscosity is expressed in terms of mu divided by the density of the fluid is rho. So that's what the formula. As simple as this. Now what about the unit? Mu is measured in terms of Newton second per meter square, whereas rho is measured in terms of kg per meter cube. So meter cube will go into the numerator, so meter cube. So what form we will have is, I think it will be Newton meter second per kg. But it will be better to expand that unit again further. So let us express this Newton in terms of the fundamental units. So let us write down this entire thing over here. So the SI unit will be let us express in this Newton. We know that Newton is nothing but what? Kg meter per second square. This is what Newton into, this is second into meter cube. So these are what the terms into the numerator divided by this term meter square kg. So that's what the unit. So let us see what are the terms which maybe get cancelled. So kg will be get cancelled. So out of this second and this second, one of the second from second square will be cancelled, and this meter square, and out of the meter cube 2 meters will be get cancelled, and what unit we will have is, what is unit remaining, that is the SI unit is, I think meter into meter is meter square per second. So this will be meter square per second. So I would like to rewrite it. SI unit is meter square per second, whereas the CGS unit for the measurement of kinematic viscosity will be, it will be centimeter square per second. Let us see what is the relation between them. The relation between them, let us take on 1 meter square per second as equals to, how much will be the kinematic viscosity in terms of centimeter square per second. So obviously 1 meter square, this, okay, I can write it as 1 meter square divided by 1 second. The same term, kinematic viscosity, which is equal to 1 meter square per second, I can write down it as 1 meter square divided by 1 second. So we know that 1 meter square is nothing but 10 to the power 4 centimeter square divided by 1 second will, as it is, since in CGS time is measured in seconds itself. So this is equals to 10 to the power 4 centimeter square per second, and this is nothing but, by the way, I forgot to tell you that CGS unit used for the measurement of the kinematic viscosity is centimeter square per second, and that is also known as Stoke. Stoke is the name given to the CGS unit of kinematic viscosity. So 1 centimeter square per second is nothing but what? 1 Stoke. In that case, I can say 10 to the power 4 centimeter square per second is nothing but 10 to the power 4 Stoke. 10 to the power 4 Stoke. Again, we have seen that the way in which we have seen Pascal second was quite larger unit used for the measurement of dynamic viscosity. In the similar manner, the meter square per second is quite larger unit for the measurement of kinematic viscosity. Even the Stoke is also larger. So, what is the another practical unit used for the measurement of kinematic viscosity? That is centistoke. And I would like to write down 1 centistoke is equals to 10 to the power minus 2 stoke. So, I would like to write down this 1 meter square per second as equals to 10 to the power 4 centimeter square per second. That is equal to 10 to the power 4 stoke. If I express that in terms of centistoke, how much it will be? I think it must be 10 to the power 6 centistoke. Right? Okay, dimensions are still remaining. So let us find out the dimensions. What are the dimensions for the kinematic viscosity? The kinematic viscosity. Okay, by the way, just from the SI unit, we know the SI unit for the kinematic viscosity, meter square per second. So I need not to go for the formula to derive the dimensions of kinematic viscosity. The SI unit is meter square per second. So its dimension must be L2, since it is meter square. There are 2 terms of length in the numerator, and the denominator it is the second, so T minus 1. So this must be the dimensions of kinematic viscosity. I think we are running out of time, so we should stop over here. The remaining fluid properties we will continue into the next lecture. Thank you.